Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi. Now today we're going to take a look at the vintage Star Wars AT-AT produced by Kenner. Now this is probably one of my favourite Star Wars toys, and it's something I never had as a child, but now that I'm older I keep picking up as many of them as I can because I just think they're an absolutely fantastic toy. But there's one part of it that has bugged me, that it's never looked finished, and that is the inside of the main sort of hold of the AT-AT. If we open the door on the side here of this AT-AT, you can see inside it's just a sort of empty grey box. Obviously you have the battery compartment at the bottom, and you have the handle here that allows you to move the head and fire the guns. But if you're just going to be playing with this with the door open, the inside looks very dull. So today I thought I'd look at how to make a custom cardboard insert that would stick on the back wall of this AT-AT and add a lot more detail and a lot more sort of interest to the inside portion of this, and try and make it a little bit more screen accurate and a little bit more interesting to look at if you have the door open. Now if you've watched my previous videos, you'll have seen I've done custom work on a vintage Star Wars Kenner Slave 1 fairly recently, and on that I added lights and new decals and a new insert to that, and it really did make a big difference. Now on this AT-AT I'm not going to go down the route of adding custom lights to it because I really want to keep this as quite a simple custom, but if you do want to add lights, there are some very easy ways of doing it that don't involve the kinds of complicated work that I did on the Slave 1. The simplest way is literally to go onto eBay and you can buy very cheap little LED lights. Now I picked a couple of different ones up here just to show you some variations of what you can get. This is a little LED sort of key ring light, very simple design, just a little tube with some batteries in it and an LED at the end, and you twist the end and the light comes on. Or I've got here, this is a little solar panel sort of 3 LED light set, so you can charge this up with just normal sunlight, and then on the back there is a button and you press that and you get 3 lights. So if you wanted to add some lighting to a toy like this where there's plenty of space to hide things, you could very simply take something like this and just stick it inside using a bit of Velcro or something like that, and then press the button and hey presto, the lights light up. And that doesn't involve any sort of complicated wiring because you're literally sticking something like this inside. Likewise this one would do the same because you can just switch it on, a little bit of Velcro or something, and you could just attach that inside to add a little bit of light. And if you wanted to change the colour of the LEDs, that's pretty easy to do. Or if you can't be bothered to even do that, just get a red marker pen, a little Sharpie, and colour the LED red, and that would do just as good a job. But that's a very simple way of adding some lights to a toy like this without going down the route of doing any sort of wiring or soldering. So keep that in mind. But for this we're just going to make a new insert to go on the back. So the first thing we need to do is to work out what size the back panel is, and then we can start designing what's going to go on it. Before I go about designing the insert, the first thing we need to do is to work out how big that area is that we have to sort of design for. So I have a small ruler here and I'm just going to place that inside, and we can see if we can work out the sort of dimensions of that back wall. So looking at that, it looks like it's about 13.5 centimetres from side to side. And then to work out the height, obviously my ruler is actually a little bit too big, but we can use this door size to work that out, and we can see that that's about 12.5 centimetres tall. So it's about 13.5 wide by about 12.5 tall. So I'd actually already measured that, so I've managed to make a little bit of paper here which has those dimensions on it. This is 12.5 centimetres tall and 13.5 centimetres wide. So I can use this and place this inside the AT-AT, and we can see if that fits or if there's any other areas that we need to worry about. So I've already done this, and you can see that actually there's a slight taper to the back wall, and the top of the wall is slightly thinner than the bottom. The bottom is 13.5 and the top is 12.5. So I've just marked on this bit of paper, you can see that 5 centimetres off each side, and if I cut those off just with my scissors here, so that we have a slightly tapered bit of paper that's wider at the bottom, that should then fit perfectly. So that's one side cut off. That's the other side cut off. So it's hard to tell, but this is actually tapered in. It's now no longer a square. And I think if I drop that in the back there, that fits perfectly. Now I tend to do this when I'm designing new sort of stickers or inserts for a toy. It's the best way to get a sort of rough idea of what you're going to need and how things are going to fit, because really until you've sort of tried placing things inside them, you never know what's going to be in the way. But that looks like that should be a perfect fit. So I can now take these dimensions into Photoshop, and I'll make a file that is exactly these proportions with these slightly tapered edges, and I can start designing the new decal that we want to go on this back wall. So let's go ahead and get that started. So after a good few hours work in Photoshop, as you've seen previously, I was able to create this file, and I'm really pleased with how it's come out. It's got a nice amount of detail and a nice amount of little references to the other original Kenner stickers, but obviously has my style, and it is a little bit more modern than some of the other ones I've created. And I think this should look really nice by the time we get it inside the AT-AT. Now I've printed this out on photo quality inkjet paper, so it's actually quite thin paper, but it's got a very nice finish to it. It's a little bit matte, but that's fine for what I want to do. And before we put this into the ship, it needs to be mounted on some card. Now you'll have seen previously that I keep bits of card like this. This is the sort of card that actually comes inside the packets of printer paper, and it's ideal for doing this. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue this onto the card just using some Pritt stick, and then we can cut this out, and we'll mount this inside the AT-AT just with some double-sided sticky pads. So first thing to do is to mount this on here. So we'll turn this over, and you can clearly see the print. I don't know if it comes out on the camera there, but you can clearly see where the print is. So I'm going to liberally coat this in Pritt stick now, and then we'll stick it onto the card and cut it out. So let's get the Pritt stick onto the paper. Now that this is stuck firmly, we can cut it out. You'll see that when you print out this sticker decal sheet, that there is a grey sort of border. Now you need to actually cut that border off. I put that there to give you a little guide, so we can just cut right up to the edge of the sort of detailed area. I'm just using a pair of scissors to do this. You can do this with a knife and a ruler if you want to, but for me now, for doing on the video, it's easier to do with a pair of scissors. So just cut this off. I'll get this all cut out. So here is the final card, and all we've got to do is actually attach it inside the AT-AT. And to do that, I'm going to use some of these craft foam pads. You can see here, these are tiny little sort of square pads. We're only going to need a couple of them because actually a lot of this is held in by, there's a couple of little tabs at the bottom. So I'm just going to stick one of these in one corner, another one in the sort of other corner up the top there. We'll take off the backing, if I can do that, like so. Take the backing off the other one, like that. And now we can slot this into the inside of the AT-AT. So you have to sort of push it in a little bit sort of at a funny angle, and you have to, because the card is quite thick, there's two little tabs as you can see at the back there. I'm going to just sort of push it down so that it sits nice and flat on the floor, and then I can just press the top two bits in so that they stick nicely, and there you can see it is stuck quite firmly in place, and already that looks pretty impressive. So let me put the rest of the AT-AT back together, and we can see what it looks like when it's finished. Now, as I mentioned earlier on in the video, I said I can add some lights quite easily just using this, and you can see I've actually now coloured the LEDs. So I've actually coloured two of them blue and one of them red. So if I switch this on, you'll see it's got a sort of slight bluey red colour to it, and I'm just going to drop that inside the AT-AT once I've got everything ready, and we'll have a little bit of sort of ambient lighting there without doing any work, sort of any custom work, adding wiring or anything to it, and you can easily remove this. So let me put everything back in and we'll see what it looks like all finished. So here you can see the finished AT-AT, and as you can see it does actually make quite a big difference to the back wall. The back wall just looked a little bit too plain to me always, and I think the addition of this single bit of card really does add something to it. And as you can see, I've dropped in the two little lights that I showed you at the beginning of the video. So we have the blue and red one on this side, just casting some light that way, and I've actually put the little white LED one here just to light up the Stormtrooper on this side, and it does work really nicely. Now those are just held in with some Velcro, so you can stick them onto the wall and they don't move about. So it's a really nice simple addition to the AT-AT, and it doesn't mean that you have to change anything to the AT-AT. If you want to revert this back to how it was originally, all of this stuff just comes out with ease. The back panel is just held on with some double-sided tabs, and the other bits are held in with Velcro. So it really can be returned to its original form without any work at all. Sometimes I do wonder why Kenner didn't bother doing any of this stuff at the time, but I'm guessing it's down to cost and play value. They thought that the only point of opening up this back panel was so that you could put your hand in and control the AT-AT head, but obviously as things have progressed, people want to do dioramas, and so the addition of little bits of detail like that really do make a difference, and it's something that they probably never thought of at the time when these were first produced. So if you'd like to have a go at doing this to your own AT-AT, then the file that I've created is available at toy-polloi.com. And if you'd like to help out toy-polloi in future, then please check out my Patreon page, where you can find details of how to support me and help me produce more projects like this in the future. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching Toy-Polloi. Subscribe for more great videos.